Whenever we try to envision a world without war, without violence, without prisons, without capitalism, we are engaging in speculative fiction. All organizing is science fiction. Organizers and activists dedicate their lives to creating and envisioning another world, or many other worlds. So what better venue for organizers to explore their work than science fiction stories? That is the opening quote of the introduction of Octavia's Brood, Science Fiction Stories from Social Justice Movements, which was edited by Adrienne Marie Brown, some of you may have heard of them, and Walida Imarisha. And it's a sci-fi anthology, it's a collection of short stories, and they're a totally different kind of sci-fi. They're sci-fi that's envisioning what the world might be like if things start to go better than they're going right now, or how they might be if they keep going the way they're going. So really, really interesting collection here. And the reason I wanted to open up with that is because we're talking about the future today, and we're talking about how we imagine the future so that it feels like it can really belong to us. Now, I'm a big science fiction geek, big fan. Some of my sacred texts, because I'm not traditionally religious, some of my sacred texts are science fiction books. Has anyone here read Ender's Game? Yep. Yeah? So there's a sequel to that called Xenocide that is actually pretty different and very, very good. Octavia Butler, who is the author that this anthology is named after, she wrote a book called Parable of the Sower that is also really visionary. A lot of people have been hearing about that these last few years. Science fiction has some of the most inspiring, interesting, thought-provoking, challenging, philosophical work that we might encounter these days. But there's a couple subgenres of science fiction. One you may have or may have not heard of is called cyberpunk. So in cyberpunk, which is honestly a lot of sci-fi, right? The Matrix, what are some others? Cyberpunk 2077. There's all these, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, also known as Blade Runner, right? Blade Runner? Yep. Yeah, not Blade. Blade is a vampire thing. That's this, I always get them mixed up. Anyway, cyberpunk is characterized by very dense urban landscapes. Often it's nighttime and raining, don't know why. It tends to be pretty dystopian and oppressive and corporate. There's almost always some sort of nefarious corporate entity that wants the main character to deliver something, and then they find out it's a whole thing. It can be summed up with the phrase high tech, low life. It characterizes a lot of science fiction. But a new subgenre has been emerging recently called solar punk. And solar punk is characterized more by an optimistic sci-fi that envisions a utopian future where advanced renewable technology exists in harmony with nature and community. It emphasizes sustainability, social justice, and DIY principles over the dystopian themes of cyberpunk. So it isn't the kind of sci-fi where tech is bad, right? A lot of sci-fi is chewing on what does it mean for technology in our lives? What's our relationship to it? It instead envisions, well, what if we can have a sustainable future with technology? We don't all have to go back to the land. We don't all have to join a commune. Or we can, but it can integrate healthy technology, a healthy relationship to technology. Some of my colleagues in Unitarian Universalism are also very big sci-fi geeks. And one of them recently preached, Reverend Julica Herman de la Fuente, one of my colleagues, recently preached, I need examples of how it could be otherwise. I need help practicing and stretching my moral imagination, my capacity to believe that another world is possible. We can go to the next slide, please. And it just has this possibility. When you read sci-fi like this, it makes you think, well, oh, it could be like this. Why does it have to be the way it is now? What if we did it this way? It just invites you to really think about what's possible. So that we have these two different visions in sci-fi between dystopian and utopian ideas. These questions about what does the future hold for us? Is it going to be a continuing oppressive density of suffering and rain and darkness? Or could it include being around a lot of people? It could include being parts of cities, but it doesn't have to be so, I don't know, strangling. And a lot of this is about our relationship to technology. Is the technology defining and controlling how we live our lives, or are we using it in a way that helps the mutual flourishing of all life, instead of just like the corporate overlords? There's a couple other books I want to share with you today. Some of you may have read The Psalm for the Wild-Built by Becky Chambers. Yes, I'm seeing some yeses. Okay. So this one is a really sweet little book. And this is actually there's two books in here. There's the first one called A Psalm for the Wild-Built, and the second one's called A Prayer for the Crown-Shy. And so this is a collection of both. They're quite short, pleasant little books. And basically, on a habitable moon called Panga, humans used to use robots and AI, but they rebelled, and the robots were like, thank you very much for letting us have our freedom. The humans decided not to fight and force them to be basically robotic slaves. But instead, the robots were like, we could live alongside you, but we actually kind of just want to go off into the wilderness. So they do that. They peace out, and humans don't see them for a long time, for centuries. Now, when the story starts, a monk named Sibling Dex, love the gender-neutral monk, priest title there, Sibling Dex, decides to change their vocation. They were like, I think, a garden monk, and they decide instead that they want to live in a wanderer's wagon and serve tea to people. Just go from little town to little town, serving tea and listening to people's lives, listening to their troubles, offering them a little comfort with bespoke combinations of herbs and delicious teas. But still, while Sibling Dex begins this, it feels great at first, but after a little while, something still feels like it's missing. So they wander off into the woods themselves, and there they meet Mosscap, a robot. The robots have taken names for themselves that reflect the things that they love in nature. So Mosscap has been sent to make contact with humans after hundreds of years. The robots are kind of curious. How's humanity doing? Mosscap has one question. What do humans need? Turns out to be a book-length, difficult question. But together, Mosscap and Sibling Dex, they visit a ruined monastery. They talk about this beautiful. One of the things I like in sci-fi like this is there's often alternative religious organizations. So in this book, they often will be like, ugh, God's around, instead of God above, or, oh my God. They'll say, God's around, which is really cool. And there's this like cycle of gods that are related to each other in a circle. It's really beautiful. But throughout this book, they just have philosophical conversations, and they help people. And you get to see these little towns that have found ways to recycle technology, to use plastic in a new and better way. You just get to see this vision of an alternative possibility. And yeah, maybe we're not going to live on a moon called Panga, but some of the stuff in here is pretty cool, pretty inspiring. Then I've got another book for you called A Half-Built Garden by Ruth Anna Emrys. And this one, the aliens arrive, and they want to save us from ourselves. The aliens have been to 4 other inhabited worlds, and each time they arrive, the dominant species has already gone extinct. It has driven itself to extinction. But they arrive, and they've been here in time to find humanity, and they're like, okay, great, we're going to teach you how to build these space stations, these eco-friendly space stations, just like we did. But while the aliens were on their way, humanity actually changed course and went through something called the Dandelion Revolution. Would you like to hear something from the Dandelion Revolution? Okay, great. So, this is from version 2.3 of the Dandelion Manifesto. All right. The first power was nature. In humanity's infancy, power was not yet ours to hold. Laws and forces beyond human comprehension shaped our lives, and everything we did was aimed at survival. The second power was spirit. Incomprehensible forces took on form and personality. We struggled to comprehend their whims, and power was born from divine approval. The third power was law. We decided what we thought right and set principles above any king. Power became at last a human thing. The fourth power was money. The forms we built took on life of their own, and the power we created escaped from our grasp and devoured us. The fifth power is nature. We understand the wisdom in the forces that first shaped us, but now we adapt to them, learn from their patterns, and dance with them. Power is ours, but not ours alone, and we can create harmony with the world. I just think that's beautiful. The first power was nature, and then we end up coming back to it, but in a new sort of partnered way. And in this book, so the aliens come, but the humans are already figuring out new ways to exist more in tune with nature. Instead of organized by like big governments or huge geographical areas or corporations or brands or something, they're instead organized by watersheds. So it's all the people in a local area that are connected by water source. And together they take care of each other and the water source and nature. And they do it by using chat forums, just like we might. And you can upvote good ideas, you gain weight, the importance of what you post gains by trust. So the more good ideas you have, the more times you have been helpful, the more trusted you are, and the better your posts get received, rather than controversy. They actually, you get amplified by trust. And so they're organized by these watersheds, and the aliens come and they say, okay, we're ready to pick you up off of Earth and take you out of here. And the humans are like, we don't want to give up on Earth. We don't want to give up on it. It's our home. Maybe some of us might go into space, and that is fine, but we don't want to just throw this place away like it's trash. So we have some very different visions of the future in these books. But the reason that I really wanted to lift these up today, we talk about in Unitarian Universalism that we can gain wisdom from many sources. And the reason I like sci-fi is because it helps me fall in love with the future again. These days, I'm sure you all have been feeling, the future feels like a place I don't want to go. It feels like a nightmare waiting to happen. And so that's hard. It's hard to build your life with that weighing on you. It's hard for our kids to understand their place in the world when that is weighing on them. And the future won't be this perfect utopian vision. It will always include some suffering. Life always does. The Buddhists teach us that existence always includes some suffering. But the future will also contain as much love and beauty as the present does, and as the past. Now, sometimes when I'm talking to some of our elders, they've shared with me that they start to not feel as connected to the future. That they're like, well, I'm not going to be here for that, so I don't know. I just don't feel really connected. And that's understandable. That makes sense to me. But one thing that indigenous communities remind us is that we have to think not just about ourselves, but about 7 generations into the future. And 7 generations can feel really still kind of nebulous, but if you think about it, your great-grandparents were 3 generations back, right? Your parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, and then your children, your grandchildren, and your great-grandchildren. That's 7 generations. So if you just scooch that forward, that's a conceivable amount of people, the amount of generations. And we want to make our choices in the world based on care for those 7 generations that will come after us. Even if you're not having biological descendants, there will be people who come after you. There will be life forms that come after you, not just people. So what kind of future do we want to see? Sometimes, one other thing is that sometimes when we're talking about the afterlife, atheists will say nothing happens when we die, or people will characterize atheists as being like, oh, when I die, nothing happens. I'm an atheist and I don't think of it that way. Instead, I think of it as, my body is going to continue to be part of the world. All of the matter of my being will decompose and recompose. That's not nothing. I'm still going to be in the game. I'm still going to be part of the cycle. So it matters to me. It matters to me what comes after. So really quick, I'm going to come surprise you guys in the audience and ask you some questions. Can I get the hand mic volume on, please? Okay, I have a question for you guys. When you're thinking about the future, what kinds of things do you hope you will see?
I hope I see more communities taking care of each other via mutual aid.
Mutual aid, yeah. Anybody else? What do you hope you'll see in the future? Yes, Fran.
I hope we'll see more respect for the natural world, especially the animals. The beavers did a whole lot of work before white people got here, and we've managed to undo considerable amount of that, so we need to learn to do better.
Amen. Thank you for speaking for the beavers. Love the beavers. Yeah, more in tune, more respectful of the work, all the work that our animal siblings are doing to make the world function. All right, anybody over here?
I'd like to see more love in the world.
Yeah, more love in the world. What does that look like, do you think?
Helping people, like one had said, mutual aid, and taking care of each other and taking care of our families and our elderly and our world. Stop throwing trash on the ground, help each other clean up, it just, love.
Yeah, that's a really good way of putting that. Yeah. Phoenix?
Respectful uses of technology, not stealing people's art, not stealing people's stuff. Just like letting technology be what it is, but not teaching it using unjust means.
Well said, yes. Yes, and that goes back to what we were talking about earlier with cyberpunk. Are we using technology as a way to take advantage of each other? Are we using technology as a way to basically recreate slavery, right? A lot of robotic visions of the future, they're slaves. They're beings, human-shaped beings often, who have to do stuff for us. AI is the same. We're using it. Have you noticed how a lot of AI assistants have feminine voices? Yeah. You know what I mean? They're just ways of recreating old toxic systems right now, but they don't have to be, right? I like to think of AI as an evolution. We evolved, we are a natural occurrence, we humans, and if we actually create a conscious life form other than ourselves, what does that mean we owe to that? Doesn't that mean that it's our descendant in a way? Why would we want to enslave it? Why would we want to use it to steal people's art? Why? Why not use it in a more loving way? So we can think about all these things with technology and just be like, is this a loving way to do this? Or is this kind of an exploitative way to do this? So it can sometimes be hard to believe that the future is going to be good if the stories that we're seeing about the present seem all doom and gloom. I don't know about you, but sometimes I open my phone and I open my news app and I literally think, what fresh hell will it be today? Like regularly. And it is. I open my news app, and I use Ground News, this new app that doesn't sort of algorithmically pick your news for you. It tries to show you blind spots. And still, it's really depressing out there, man. But there's this thing I want to show you guys. There's a company called Good, Good, Good. And what they specifically do is they share good news. They've been around since 2017, and they just try to lift up the good things that are happening that may not be as traditionally newsworthy because they aren't terrible, horrible, awful things. So the headlines today, right? I just looked up this morning, the good news headlines today. A new nature preserve in Ohio will protect 3,000 acres of forest and wildlife. That's great, but we're not gonna really see that on the nighttime news, are we, unfortunately? Another one, over the past 10 years, child poverty has declined across the globe with 100 million fewer children living in poverty. That's fantastic news, 100 million fewer children living in poverty. So I'd encourage you to check this site out. It really, as a balanced, one of many sources of your news, it helps to see like there are good people doing good things. There are good changes being made. The United States is rolling back a lot of our climate change work right now, which is bad. It's bad. It's bad out there. But I don't know, when the election happened and that started to occur, I started to get very worried about the state of the world. But when you actually look at how other countries are doing with their climate change stuff, they're on track, if not exceeding expectations. Uruguay, I believe 90% of their energy comes from renewable resources. India is trying to get 100 million homes on the renewable grid. Just like all over the world, actually things are looking pretty good. New scientific advancements are being made to make solar panels even more effective, batteries to be more, I don't know the words, y'all, I'm not a scientist. Batteries to be more efficient or something, I don't know. Anyway, good things are happening, but we have to kind of look for them. And when we find them, it reminds us that good things are possible in the future too. That way it feels like the future isn't a nightmare. It's possible. It's going to be reasonably okay, maybe some challenges, but it's possible that it's going to be okay. And really, here's the thing. When you feel hopeless and like the future doesn't belong to you anymore, it benefits somebody to make you feel that way, because then they get it. So don't give it to them. Don't give it to them. It's your future. It's your kids' future. It's your pet's future. It's the tree's future. The billionaires can't have Mars. I want Mars. So, what can we imagine about the future of this congregation? I can imagine putting solar panels across the whole parking lot over the cars, you know what I mean? Or what if we have a community garden? Or we put wildflowers where all of the grass is? Or a little free library? Things are possible, you know what I mean? We are going to be doing a strategic planning process over the next year or so where we're going to think about this congregation's future and its direction. Oak Ridge is having a lot of thoughts, a lot of decisions made about its future right now. There's a lot of development plans happening. It's an opportunity for you to get involved and help decide the direction that this community is going to go. Is it going to get developed just like all the other places and become really unaffordable? Or not? I would encourage you to go and tell them not. All kinds of things are possible. The future is not decided. So what kinds of stories are we going to start to tell about the future? May it be so, and amen.